Hey there, I'm Jackie Ferris. This week on the 302, we are at Historic Odessa, checking out Everyday Life, Everyday People works by Jack Lewis. We're also getting a lot of the behind-the-scenes stories that will make you smile. Get ready, the 302 is headed your way. Welcome to Historic Odessa. We're talking a little bit about a really cool collaboration that's going on between Historic Odessa and the Rehoboth Art League. I'm joined now by Brian Miller. He is the Associate Curator at Historic Odessa, and Carol Ann Deal, Collections Manager for the Rehoboth Art League. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for coming today, and welcome to Historic Odessa Foundation.
Well, let's talk a little bit, let's dive right in. Let's talk about everyday life, everyday people. It's on the wall back here, the work of Jack Lewis. First of all, who is Jack Lewis?
Jack Lewis is a renowned Delaware artist from Bridgeville, Delaware. He painted throughout the state. Personally, I had seen him on the green in Dover. He would be out painting and sketching. You could talk with him. He was willing to share. It was just amazing. He was a great artist. He's since passed away. He was just shy of his 100th birthday. And the funniest thing is, so many people in Delaware knew him, and some claim that he knew everyone in Delaware.
Absolutely. Well, you know, if you're around for 100 years, you're gonna meet a lot of people. Now, Carol Ann, he was very prolific, right?
Yes, absolutely. He started painting when he got his art degree from Rutgers University. He started painting for the Civilian Conservation Corps, which was a part of the Works Progress Administration. He moved to Delaware around the 1930s, and yeah, like Brian said, had painted all around the state, all around the East Coast. Yeah, he was extremely prolific.
So let's talk a little bit about, this is a collaboration, this exhibit. By the time it hits air, it will have gone back to the Rehoboth Art League. It's home. Talk to me about the collaboration and about that.
Yeah, so when Brian reached out to the Rehoboth Art League to be the northern venue for this exhibition, we were thrilled. This was the first time that the Art League has ever had an exhibition travel. So we were excited to create a partnership with another arts organization. And yeah, we're really thrilled with how it's been going so far.
So how many pieces are in the exhibit, and are they representative of, I guess, his growth as an artist?
Yes, all time periods of his art are represented. Anything from when he used a grid to create his works to his really loose watercolors at the end. So we have pretty much everything represented. And the coolest thing when I saw this exhibit at the Rehoboth Art League, it was set up chronologically. So that was really interesting to see how his work changed. But now here in Odessa, we took the advantage of our space, and we have it arranged not chronological, but more thematically and more related to the size of the works and the colors. So it has worked out really, really well. And our space, I think, generally lends itself to all of the different exhibits that we have here in Odessa.
Now, Carol Ann, are these all of the paintings, or are there more that we haven't seen?
These are only some of the paintings from the Nansel and Russ Suniwick collection that was donated to the Art League in 2021. And even the Nancy and Russ Suniwick collection is only a small portion of the work by Jack Lewis that we have at the Rehoboth Art League. He taught at the Art League for over 20 years, was heavily involved with the Art League's creation. We are now celebrating our 85th year of being an arts organization. So yeah, this is just a small bit of all the artwork by Jack we have.
Now, he actually got his first show at the Art League, right?
I believe so, yeah, because he was hired by Colonel Corcoran, who was the husband of the founder of the Rehoboth Art League, Louise Corcoran. Colonel Corcoran hired Jack as an artist enrollee in the Civilian Conservation Corps, which was like a custom position, because he really believed in having an artist to depict the work these young men were doing, digging ditches to rid the Sussex County region of mosquitoes. So Jack, it makes sense that because of this connection to Colonel Corcoran and to Louise Corcoran, the founders of the Rehoboth Art League, that he would have his first solo show there.
And you guys must just be really proud and excited that, not only is the first, it's such a dynamic collection of pieces to share with Odessa.
Absolutely. We are so glad that we are able to share Jack's work, the breadth of his work, of his subject matter, and of his style. So we are so happy that Historic Odessa Foundation was willing to host this exhibition.
So let's talk a little bit about that style. How would you describe, the beginnings, his beginnings, some of his earliest work in terms of style?
From what I understand, from what I've seen, it's a little bit tighter, sort of more realistic, more, traditional sort of. And then, as he went on, his style got looser and looser. And actually, he became more well known for the looser style, more impressionistic. And he's an artist who what they call in French, like en plein air. So he is out at the sites. He is standing right in front of what he's painting, and the colors are changing, the weather's changing, the wind, so he's working very quickly, and he's recording the sites all throughout our state, and just a really amazing work.
Now, you were saying that you saw him when he was out painting plein air on the green. Did you ever see the result of some of those sightings?
Yes. He would always have a collection with him. So as he's painting, he's also selling.
Oh, really?
So he would have like a portfolio, and it would be opened up in like a rack, and you could go through them and pick out one that you wanted, or you could buy the one that you just finished painting. So it was a really loose and really informal way of selling and painting. Really a wonderful experience.
Sure. And we're going to take a deep dive into some of these paintings when we return.
Hi, this is Jen Bose from the Greater Wilmington Convention and Visitors Bureau. Be sure to watch the 302 for all the fun things there are to see and do in Delaware.
Welcome back. We're talking about the art of Jack Lewis and a wonderful collaboration between Historic Odessa and the Rehoboth Art League. Now, Brian, we've been showing Jack Lewis's work over our conversation, but I wanted to take a deep dive into some of the specific works, and there's one that's very special to Historic Odessa, and that would be Lewis's portrayal of the Corbett Sharp House. Talk to me about that.
Right. That work, that's the only one that's not in the collection from the Rehoboth Art League, is in the collection of the Historic Odessa Foundation, and it was painted in 1976. So we believe that the artist was probably going around doing some very historic sites in the first state, Delaware, for the bicentennial year. It shows the Corbett Sharp House, which is a National Historic Landmark, up its cobblestone courtyard, up through this gate that was added in the 1940s, and it shows, the great Georgian house from 1774. So Jack Lewis, was just on that cobblestone courtyard painting that work of art, and it was just amazing that we have that one work from his
Repertoire.
Yeah, that's good.
Repertoire.
Thanks very much. So anyways, that was the impetus for this exhibit. So as soon as I saw the collection down at the Rehoboth Art League, I thought that would be perfect to have this exhibit come to Newcastle County so that we could also show our work with these other great works.
Absolutely, and he really captured it, because the 302, we have been privileged enough to do a show on the Corbett Sharp House, and it is gorgeous and something that you guys should definitely check out. But I want to go on to you, Carol Ann, and talk about your, well, maybe one of your favorites, Big Apple shirt. Tell us about the story behind that.
Yeah, so we are very lucky that Jack wrote a lot about his work, and also there's a documentary about Jack Lewis and his town of Bridgeville. The donors of the show, Russ and Nancy Sunewick, produced the documentary, If You Lived Here, You'd Be Home Now. And in that documentary, Jack speaks about the story of Big Apple shirt. I believe the story goes that he was hitchhiking, as he was out and about with his paints, and this man in a yellow shirt offered to give him a ride, and Jack asked him, "Can I paint you?" The man said, "Fine, sure," and he fell asleep during the portrait painting. So if you look at the Big Apple shirt, which is this man in a radiant yellow button-down shirt, he looks like he has just drifted off to sleep. And I think that's just a perfect encapsulation of the way Jack found the everyday people fascinating and found them to be perfect subjects for his painting, even if they weren't awake.
Sure, I think it's great that you mentioned the expression on his face, because that seems to be, the sweet spot for Jack Lewis is the expression. It's almost effortless, it seems. And when you look at his self-portrait, it really comes through. It's so intense, and it makes you wonder, what is he thinking? And it really is just a beautifully colored image. Talk to me about, the placement.
Yeah, so I think that self-portrait, which is an oil painting, really exemplifies his mastery of color. He is against this backdrop that is just kind of some geometric forms of color, and you can really see the contrast between like the red background and the greenish brown in his shirt, and the yellow background and the skin tone. It's a really great, important earlier work showing the young artist and showing off his skills of color.
And the turquoise frame really adds to it. Do you believe that's original?
So we believe that was a Jack Lewis original. Jack did frame his own work, and he didn't necessarily pick the frame for the piece. It was whatever frame was around. So we believe that to be the frame that he put on that self-portrait. And yeah, the color is just really interesting. We had that piece restored. The frame was chipped, so I believe it was like a gilded gold underneath, but Jack added that really bright turquoise blue color.
It's great.
Yeah, it is great.
When you look at his work, I think you kind of understand that he knew the power and the magnetism of color. When you look at the piece that depicts senior citizens, that really pops.
Yeah, absolutely. That is one of the latest pieces from this collection. I believe it was from 1983. And that's another example of Jack, not on plein air because you're not outside, but he's inside the senior center interacting with these folks. And yeah, it's just a very vibrant, colorful scene.
Now, the one that caught my eye, just because of all that's going on, was Dead Bird. And I didn't realize it was a dead bird, but there's a story behind that as well, right?
Yes, that's another just interesting anecdotal story by Jack Lewis. It goes that him and his wife, Dorothy, were looking to purchase a house in historic Lewis. And in one of these old homes, they went up into an attic and saw that a bird had flown through a broken window and died. And Jack said, "I'm gonna come back and paint that bird." And that's what he did. And that's the piece Broken Flight that's out in the first room. So it's almost the bird, unless you knew it was a dead bird, you might think it was in flight.
Yeah.
So that's just a great example of his impressionistic style, giving you a sense of something.
Yeah, I mean, because when I looked at it, I thought it was flying, because it's just,
Yes.
you know what I'm saying? Motion is something that I think he also understood how to capture. And that's one of the hardest things to do as an artist, to do something that's in motion or something that's fluid, like the fireworks.
Right. Not many artists would probably attempt to paint fireworks. Yeah, so it's just a fleeting moment, fleeting seconds. So, but I think he captured it really well. When we were setting up the exhibit, that one, since the background is black and just dark, it was the hardest one to light. No matter how much light we put on it, it's still dark. But fortunately, it's all about the fireworks.
Sure. And when you look at all of these paintings, you have several different mediums, and some would say, oh, well, that's just, because, he's such a fluent artist, but he actually developed an allergy, is that right?
Yeah, so in the archives at the Rehoboth Art League in our collection, I found a letter written by Jack around the 70s or 80s explaining that he developed an allergy to the turpentine that he used to mix his oil paints. And so in the letter, he had to stop painting using oil. But we know that, for example, the piece behind me that was made in the 50s, that's an oil. So we believe that he did go back and forth between the mediums like gouache or opaque watercolor that may not have caused his allergy, and then back to oils, which he started in oils. So
he just toughed it out for his art.
I think he just toughed it out, yeah, which is just another example of Jack Lewis being a remarkable artist.
So if somebody wants to learn more about him, where can do they just Google him, or do you guys have a special segment on your website? Because unfortunately, by the time you folks see this exhibit will have moved on.
Yeah, so Jack has self-published many books about his work, from really long, thick volumes like the Delaware Scene to his shorter, illustrated, or he uses his own paintings to illustrate his story. There's a copy of that book in there. You can pick those up at any local Delaware library. You would probably find them there. And yeah, there's information about him online too.
Everywhere. So Carol Ann, thank you so much for joining us. Brian, you're going to stick around. We're going to talk about what else is going on in historic Odessa when we return.
I'm Brenton Grom. I'm the director of the Reed House and Gardens, and we love having the 302 here in the center of history, Old Newcastle.
These are really nice. Big Apple shirt. So this really is an amazing exhibit. How long does it take to put something like this together?
Well, the planning obviously takes months.
Yeah.
But the actual setup just happens in one day.
That's incredible.
It is incredible. We're usually closed, we're always closed on Mondays.
Yeah.
So on the Monday is the changeover. So every 2 months, we have a new exhibit here at our visitor center at the Historic Odessa Foundation. And it happens very quickly, which is fine because we want our space to always be open.
I'm going to have to get your secret, because every time my husband and I hang something in our house, it takes a very long time. No, higher, lower, to the side. But you guys have so much going on. I know you just had a book released, right?
Yes, coming up, yes. We have a book of our collection, the first ever, which highlights our great spaces, which highlights our homes, our historic houses, and the collection, which we are very fortunate. We have many, many pieces that belong to the actual houses.
And people just don't really understand. When you go into the Corbett Sharp house, everything is almost, or is actually, originally owned by the people who lived there. It's really a national treasure.
Definitely, and obviously all of our houses on there are on the National Historic Register, but then we have only one of 19 in the state of Delaware which gets the status as a National Historic Landmark, and that's our Corbett Sharp house.
It's gorgeous in there. Gorgeous.
Thank you very much. Yeah, we're very proud of it, obviously.
Now you have a lot of things that are going on beyond the book.
Yes, and beyond our exhibits, and we have a small exhibit traditionally in the Wilson Warner House that highlights some aspect of our collection. But then throughout the year, we have in September, always the second Saturday of September, our Brewfest, which is attended by thousands of people. It's one of our big highlights of the season, and obviously one of our biggest fundraisers of the year. Besides that, we have a quilt exhibit that's coming up next. We're going to have a contemporary quilt artist in this visitor center space. But then over across the street in our two historic homes, we are going to have quilts made in Delaware, and we're going to take our historic fabrics off of the beds, and they're going to put their new fabrics, which are inspired by old quilts or old fabrics, old stitching. So it's going to look really different to see contemporary things on the historic beds and in the historic rooms.
Absolutely. And of course, Christmas here is amazing. Last year, you guys did Oliver Twist for Christmas. What have you got on tap this year?
This year, we're going to do A Visit from St. Nicholas, which most people don't know it by that name. They just call it 'Twas the Night Before Christmas. So it's the great poem by Clement Clarke Moore, the traditional, iconic Christmas story. So what we do is interpret one of our houses this year. It is going to be in the Corbett Sharp house. And we interpret scenes from the story. So you'll go into the parlor and it'll be the stockings were hung by the chimney with care, and so on and so on. So it'll be really amazing.
Now, the only thing I have for reference for Christmas was last year, the Oliver Twist, and I was just really impressed with the detail and the thoughtfulness behind each item that was placed so perfectly. How do you put something like that together?
Well, obviously, lots of research. I start in January of every year and, pick out the things that we're going to need. And then I have the whole year to find other things that maybe that we don't own, that will fill out the rest of the story and bring up those details that you mentioned.
So that clock wanted to chime in and say it's going to be a really good Christmas.
Well, thanks, yeah.
So if somebody wants to find out more, because you guys have so much, how many properties do you have?
Yeah, we have 6 properties, 6 major buildings, and then we're on 70 acres.
Wow.
We have pretty much this end of the town or the village of Odessa. So you can find more information, obviously, on our website at historicodessa.org. But then, you can come and visit us. Our visitor center is open 6 days a week, so that would be fine.
And you have to make more than one visit because you have so much going on. It'll take you a while to see everything. So it's nice because you can come, maybe have lunch at Cantwell's, and just really have a great day. Brian, thank you so much
for
more
than welcome.
spending
Nice to
time
meet you.
with us today. And we are
Thanks for
definitely
coming.
going to come back for Christmas.
Thank you very much.
We'll be right back. Hey there, are you enjoying your visit to Historic Odessa? If you happen to pop by, make sure you take a picture and tag us on Facebook. Now, here are some other things in the area you might want to check out. For more information on any of the events at Historic Odessa, make sure you visit historicodessa.org. That'll do it for this week's episode of The 302. Make sure you follow us on Facebook for behind-the-scenes videos, content, and so much more. We're going to leave you now with some beauty shots of downtown Odessa. Until next time, I'm Jackie Ferris. We'll see you on The 302.